Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fourth and the final session for your Luna HSM learning. Just a quick audio and screen test. I hope you guys can hear me okay and see the screen as well with this high availability tab. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So, folks, the primary laptop which we were using from the last 3 days is not working anymore. I tried my best to get it working. So, today we had two demonstration which I wanted to show all of you. One is for high availability and second is for your logging configuration. So as my laptop is not working, unfortunately we just have to see the commands and everything on from this documents. But after this session and the next coming days, I'll try to perform those hands-on and upload the session recordings on the learning portal. So my apologies for that. We'll not be able to see any demos today, but in the next few days, I'll on the same learning portal, you will see some additional videos being available that will have these two demos for you. So still, I just want to walk you through the concept, the part where we can see how your high availability can be configured. But folks, before we start our final day for the training, any questions, anyone? Perfect. So folks, these are the commands you have to perform when you will be creating your high availability HA group. So first, when your second HSM is up and running, you can create your partitions there. You can initialize the partition, and you have to, if this is a pet-based HSM, you have to activate that partition as well. But it is important for you that whenever you are initializing the partition number 2 that you want to add in your HA group, that partition must have the same cloning domain. Also, that partition must have the same crypto officer challenge password. These are the requirements for your pet-based HSM. For your password-based HSM, same cloning domain and same crypto officer password. This is mandatory. So once that is done, these are the steps which we have already seen. Creating partition, we created the partition with the name Nathan, and then we initialize this partition. From 7.7.1 option 1 onwards, you have two options. That is, you can initialize it from the client side using Luna CM, or you can initialize it from your Luna Shell interface only. So these are the steps for your client registration. So we used a single command, client config, deploy server and the HSM IP, HSM number 2 IP, the client IP and the partition name. So once that is done, you can see these two partitions now visible. So we have training partition 1 and this one is blank. So this needs to be initialized. So we'll initialize this partition, we'll initialize PO role, we will initialize crypto officer role, and then we will activate this partition. So this part is for your crypto officer initialization. For your crypto officer to initialize, your PO needs to log in. Your partition officer will log in, and then they will initialize crypto officer, set the initial password for crypto officer, and then your crypto officer will log in and they can change their password. Then we have the concept of activation, because this is the pet-based HSM we were working on. So policy number 22 and 23, they need to be activated, and that will be done by your PO, partition officer. Your partition officer will also create this one-time initial challenge password, which your crypto officer will change when they will log in again. So now
ده
the
مين
concept
داتابيز؟
of high availability will start, where from your Luna
ابويا
client
تحت.
you will start creating your HA group.
هو خليه والنبي ما يعملش حاجه، قول له اقعد ساكت واتصل باحمد.
So the command to create your HA group is HA group create group hyphen slot hyphen label.
ما هو
So this
الحنفيه
slot
بتاعه
will be
المطبخ
the
اللي مش راضي
first member
يغيرها.
slot ID. The first member, so let's say we have partition Nathan. So the slot ID of Nathan partition will be here, and any label you want to give to your partition, HA training, your HA production, HA lower environment, whatever name you want to give to your HA group.
خليه يروح له عند عبد الفتاح الحلاق هتلاقيه هناك.
So crypto officer is very important in case of your HA management. So they will need to provide their challenge password. So once you provide this, once you run this command, then your HA slot will be now visible to all of you. Slot ID 8, HA training. Now the first part was to create a member. Second is to add your member to your HA group. And for that, the second command is HA group add member to which group you are adding and the slot ID of the joining member. So let's say if we create a second partition with the name Jerry. So here we have to provide the slot ID for Jerry. So now Nathan and Jerry, they are in a part of your HA group. But for the first time, you always have to run this command HA group synchronize to synchronize the group. So that the 6 objects which were there in my Nathan partition, they can be now replicated to Jerry. This is for the first time. But now in future, if you run this command, let's say multi-token -mode RSA keygen, and you run some operations, but in this scenarios, if the new objects will be now created, they will be now replicated to both the members automatically. Now in this section, these are some settings for your HA group recovery, and let's say if you want to have recovery mode as automatic, then you have this configuration which you have to do. Let's say how many attempts you want your Luna client to make to recover the failed member. So you can make infinite number of attempts, you can make 100 attempts, you can make 200 attempts, totally up to you. If you want your Luna client to make infinite number of attempts, you will configure -1 here. The maximum auto recovery retry -1. And here there is an interval, what time you want to have in the next attempt. So in this configuration, your Luna client will make 60 attempts and each attempt will be 60 seconds apart. After every 1 minute, your Luna client will try to add the failed member back. This is automatic recovery. This is where you can configure the log file path. This is the command HA group, HA log and path. Once you configure your HA log, then it will have some entries about your active members. If the members are dropped, again an entry will be created in your HA log file. You can also check the performances. Now if you run the command against your virtual slot, if you run multi-threads again your HA slot, you will see high operation per second. So you can test this, that if you have your HA group created, the performance will be improved. Let me bring this whiteboard. So folks, let's say you have 3 members in your HA group. We said that performance will be improved. Let's say you have 100 requests for encryption. All the HA members have the same key material. They all have the same key. So if we have request for 100 encryption, so your Luna client will send some request to partition A, some request to partition B, and some request to your partition C. So if we have requests for encryption, decryption, signing, and verify, now those requests, sorry, so those requests you can get high performances. You can get better performances as compared if you have just one partition. So in this scenario, encryption, decryption, signing, and verify will give you better performances. However, if we have a request for, let's say, 100 key generation, so we saw this concept yesterday as well, where one key created on one member, encrypted, and then updated to all the members. So in this scenario, the performance will be low. You will see less performances because in this case, instead of one, 3 member needs to be updated. So depending on the operation of your application, folks, you have to make this logical calculation about how many members will be suitable for you. If it is just encryption, decryption, signing, and verify, adding more member makes sense. You will get better performance. But if the application is doing quite frequent key generation or key deletion, any operation which will change the state of your key, then that needs to be updated on all HA members. So for that, you will not be getting high performances. So folks who are joining late, just a quick update. The laptop which I was using for the training is not working anymore. I'll not be able to perform any demonstration today. So I just discussed the HA lab. So we had 2 demonstrations for today. We had one HA and one for your log configuration, but I'll not be able to perform those because of my laptop not working. But I'll try to perform those labs and upload those session recordings on the learning portal. But this might take some time. It might take 3 to 4 days before I can get my laptop working again. So sorry about that. And okay, now the concept of HA only. I mentioned that I'm going to show you that from the demo, but let me come back here. So we already saw the concept of slot ID. Now every partition have their unique slot ID. Let's say this is slot ID 0, this is slot ID 1, this is slot ID 2, and then you have created your HA group. This is slot ID 8. From your application side, whenever you have to do some authentication or you have to do some crypto operation, you have to specify the slot ID. So if this is the HA group and your application say connect to slot ID 8, so they are connecting to these 3 members. Whether it is key generation, key deletion, encryption, no matter what the cryptographic operation is, if the application is connected to slot ID 8, they are connecting to these 3 members. But if accidentally your application say instead of connecting to slot ID 8, connect to slot ID 0. So if this is a request of key generation, the key will be only generated on this member. It will not be generated on partition number 1 and partition number 2 because there is no communication happening between these members. And you also didn't send the request on HA slot. So to avoid such mistake in your production environment, we have the concept of HA only. So what will happen is Your application, when you enable HA only, when HA only is enabled, your application can only see slot ID 8, the slot ID corresponding to HA slot. They cannot see 0, they cannot see 1, and they will not be able to connect to 2 directly. So the member slot ID will be hidden, only the HA slot will be visible to the application. This is the concept of HA only. It is not enabled by default. You have to run the command HA only -enable, like from here. There is a command for HA only. Okay, so it is HA only -enable. That's the command. And folks, this is the output. Let's say if you run the command HA list group and you ever see need synchronization as yes, that means the member are currently out of synchronize. There are few objects which are created on one member and which are not created on another. So whenever you see need synchronization as yes, that means you have to do a manual synchronization. The command is HA synchronize -group and the group name. So folks, any question, anyone from this HA concept, HA topic which we just discussed? Anyone?
Can you put the your drawing back up for a second?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. So let's start the 7th module for the learning, audit and logging. Okay, so in this module, we're going to talk about your audit and logging. What are the different logging functionality which are available to you? What kind of logs you can collect on the appliance, and what logs you can collect on your HSM. We're going to also talk about tamper events and how your HSM will respond to those tamper events. If you have to upgrade your software and firmware, what are the steps? And finally, re-imaging the appliance. We'll also talk about that option. So first, we're going to talk about your HSM audit logs. You have some event going on your HSM, like which partition was accessed, which key got created, which user logged in, when was the key first time utilized, when was the encryption operation done. So this is all happening on your HSM audit logs. Your audit logs, they will also be HMAC so that no one can simply manipulate those audit log entries. So there will be an HMAC also that will take place. And there are two users which are important for this functionality for configuring your audit logs. One is your audit officer, which is your HSM level role. And second, your appliance level account called as audit. So these two users together will configure your HSM audit logs. One will SSH into the appliance, your audit user, with the username audit and then a password. After that, audit officer will log in with the corresponding password. With the corresponding password if it is the best password based HSM, or you will configure a white pad key if it is a PET based HSM. For your AO role initialization, this is independent of your HSM security officer, completely separate. AO must be initialized in order to configure your logging. If there is no AO, you will not be able to configure any audit logging event. You cannot change that. So for integrity, we have this measure in place so that no one can edit your log file, modify it, delete it, or add some records themselves. So there will be an HMAC for the previous record, and you can verify that. Now performance. If you are enabling logging on your HSMs, they will consume your HSM level resources. So this will impact your operation, this will impact your performances. So even though there are different logging events which are available for you to log, you must not be logging everything all the time. So rule of thumb says log what you must, but whatever is essential for your organization, but everything else you should be disabling that. So remember, HSM audit logs, they will have impact on your performance. If I talk about appliance log, if I talk about HA logs, those logs will have no impact on the performance. It is just your HSM audit logs because they will consume your HSM level resources.
Can you show the first two slides again? I apologize.
No worries, no worries. First two slides, starting from here.
Nope, back one more. There you go. Thank you.
So these slides are also available on the same learning portal which we have your account created on. So in the first break, I'll be enrolling all of you for the certification exam, and you will receive a link shortly for that.
Thank you.
So now time sync. So you have a clock, a real-time clock on your HSM, and you also have a real-time clock on your appliance. It might be possible, it is very rare, but still, if they are not synchronized, you will see some incorrect log entries. So your audit user can also do this synchronization using the command audit sync. These are some of the log categories which are available for you to configure your HSM access. When security officer logged in, when partition officer logged in, such log events. Log external, your HSM management, when was the partition created, when was the HSM initialized, those events will be there on your HSM management. Key management like key creation, key deletion, key usage and key first usage. When was the key used and when was the key first time used. So it is required by some of the auditors to verify the key life cycle. So for that, key first usage might be important for you to know. And regardless of your configuration, there are some events which will always be logged, like tamper, decommissioning, zeroizing, security officer creation, and your AO initialization. They will always be logged. So this log secret 256-bit random value, this is created automatically at the time of your HSM initialization. So if you have to take your HSM log from one HSM to another, this log secret will protect those logs. Log rotation. So on your HSMs, you have 16 MB of storage for your HSM logs, for your audit logs. We have a concept of log rotation because HSM is again a sensitive part. We do not want anyone to log in and access those audit logs. So those logs will be available for you to view once they are rotated. That is, when they are stored on the HSM, they will be sent on the appliance. On the appliance, you have this directory var audit. You have 220 gig of your appliance storage, total hard drive, where your other logs will also be stored. So log rotation, log sending from your HSMs transfer to your appliance. Very, very important, folks. You should never be in a situation where your entire audit, your hard drive, 220 gig hard drive is entirely full. If the disk 220 gig is completely full, you might not be able to even reset your appliance. You might not be able to even reimage or factory reset your appliance. Even if you press the decommission button on the rear panel, that will also not work. So very, very critical, folks. Make sure you check the status of your disk. There is a command status disk. You can run that command and verify your disk usage as well. We also, on the Luna shell, whenever your admin user logs in, there are some threshold, for example 75%, 80%, 85%. So your Luna shell administrator will get that prompt whenever they log in on the Luna shell, that your disk is this percentage full. You have to clear them. This is your sample log file where you have entry for your you have your sequence number followed by your timestamp when the event occurred, the message text, the HMAC of the previous record, and your data, raw data. So the previous logs, they were for your HSM, what is happening on the HSM. You also have a separate logging functionality, that is what is happening on the appliance. What is the status of the services, which clients are connecting, which requests are coming from which IP, what is the status of your SSH service, of your SNMP service, and so on. So we provide you two options, SNMP and syslog, to get this critical information about your appliance. So HSM uses rsyslog. There are different logging functionality and different logging levels as well. So if you want to redirect these logs to a remote host, that can also be done using TCP or UDP protocol. So the command is syslog remote host add -host, the IP of the host on the remote syslog server, the protocol you want to configure, and the port number. Once you configure this, your logs will be redirected to a remote syslog server. Yes, Avinash?
Just one question, like we can send these logs to the syslog server, like using the syslog remote host command.
Yes.
But how we can send the HSM log to the appliance level, like previously we said about like HSM audit log, how we can transfer to the var audit directory.
Okay, so there are two options. One is manual audit. There is a command to manually transfer those logs to your appliance directory, or there are some automatic option as well. For example, you can configure the rotation interval, whether you want to rotate your HSM audit logs daily, whether you want to rotate them weekly or monthly. So based on that frequency, you can also rotate your audit logs automatically to var audit. Also, folks, remember that the command you are seeing right here, this is for your appliance logs to redirect them to a syslog server. You also have an option to redirect your HSM audit logs to a separate syslog server. So that command will be triggered by your appliance audit user, and when your audit officer is logged in, you can also have a separate remote server for your audit logs as well. So
Okay,
to answer your
but
question,
how?
Raj? Yeah.
Yes, but how we can make sure I have the one of HSM and I can see those logs are rotated, but when I check in the WAR audit, so I can't see those logs will be a transfer there post rotation.
So there is nothing in the WAR audit directory.
Yes.
Okay, so that should be automatic. So is the HSM operational? Is the HSM currently in operational state? Have you configured the required logging event?
Yes, we configure the login event, but not sure about the transfer because we can see log is generated and log is created, rotating, everything is happening, but
So
it's not transferring.
So rotating, you mean a second file is created within the HSM, but not sent on the appliance.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So let me find out there might be, you can definitely get assistance from Thales support. Why exactly you are not seeing those logs transfer to the WAR audit directory? Also verify the status of your disk as well, status disk command. This should be automatically rotated in your WAR audit directory whenever you run the command. Have you configured the rotation interval automatic as well?
Yes, rotation we configured for the weekly basis.
On the weekly basis. Okay, when was it configured? Is it a week time already?
It's like when 2 months is completed, and we can see file is generated as well there.
Okay.
No problem. I'll check with the support. I just want to check, is there any additional steps we have to perform to transfer that particular log?
Yeah, so
instead
audit.
Of rotate.
So there is one command, I'm just trying to remember that command, audit. Let me try to find that command quickly.
Bashar, good morning. Sorry, the same question. We can send the syslogs to a CM or QRadar 1000 or similar SCMs for this project?
Yes, you can.
By FTP or another type, or we need a client to do that.
So you can, like this command which I showed you here. You can
with the command.
Yes, you can add a remote syslog server, and the logs will be redirected there. One for the HSM, one for the appliance. You can add this remote syslog servers.
Okay, perfect. And send all the syslogs to the CN or another server, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So audit, configure and using audit logging. Let me try to find that command. So this is which we're gonna discuss today about log entries, and then audit log clear, create an archive. So this one is to create a current archive for your log file. Audit rotate. So Avinash, let me try to find that command. I'm gonna share that with you separately if I'm able to find that. But I remember there is one option to manually rotate those logs as well and send it to your audit directory.
Okay, no problem. We'll check it. Not an issue. And one more thing, Jamie said, we have to transfer the HSM log as well to the another host. So that done through the audit user for the appliance, right?
Correct. So here you have an option to audit remote host add. There is command here on the using audit officer. So once the audit officer logs in, there is an audit remote host command as well.
Okay, got it. Thank
I
you.
wanted to show all this command to you, but my setup. So this is the command you can use to for your audit logs. Audit remote host add and the same hostname protocol and port. So if you want two separate server, one for your appliance logs and one for your audit logs, you can use these two separate servers as well.
Okay.
And
Okay.
up to 10 servers can be added at a given time. Up to 10 separate servers can be added for this.
Okay. We can use a remote host as like any what you can say that Splunk server as well.
Yep.
Forward.
Yes.
Okay.
SNMP. So we support version 3 for SNMP, and version 1 and version 2 are no longer supported. You do not require any external SNMP agent in case of your network HSM. So that agent is pre-built and it's already there on your network HSM. But if you have a USB or a PCI, then external SNMP agent will be required. We provide you some MIB files with the Luna client installation. You have your Chrysalis UTSP MIB file, where using this MIB file you can get information about the operation request, the status of the NTLS service, whether the service is up and running or not, active NTLS link, how many NTLS links out of 800 are currently active, number of successful client connections, and any operation errors. You have another MIB file, SafeNet HSM MIB file. So if you run the command HSM show, same output you can get with this MIB file. This is like your partition show command. This is like your HSM display license command. Policy table. Anyone remember this command? This is this
HSM show policy. HSM
Correct.
show policy.
Correct. HSM show policies. So same output you will get on the Luna shell. You can also get this information using this MIB file. And client table, like your client list command. What is the name and the corresponding addresses for your clients? Client list. So on your LCD display, on your front panel of the appliance, you get these status codes which can help you for your troubleshooting reasons. So let's say if you go to the data center and you see ISO on the front panel followed by some status codes. So ISO stands for in service operational. That means currently the cryptographic requests are being served and your HSM is in operational state. Then these numbers will further help you. For example, you have 4 Ethernet interface on the rear. If you have just connected 2 of them, ETH0 and ETH1 are up and running. No Ethernet connected on ETH2 and 3. So you will see ISO 62 and 63 because ETH2 and 3 is down. So 62 and 63. If the STC service is not running, you will see 80. Web server is not running, 95. SNMP service not running, 100. So in service operational, still the cryptographic request is running and no major service is currently out. Then if you see IST, in service trouble, that means still the cryptographic requests are being performed, but one of the major service is down. Your syslog is down, 70. SSH is not running. Your appliance administrator, they will not be able to SSH into the appliance, 90. Hard disk utilization too high, 110. Very, very important. If you see 110, immediately just clear your log directory and restart the CBS service. Then if you see OOS, out of service, no cryptographic request is currently being served by your HSM. It is currently out of service. It could be because of your NTLS service not running, or it is not bound to any ETH device, or there are some other critical events. 30 for that. Out of service. There is one more code, OFL. So if there is no network Ethernet connected on any of the interface, it will be OFL, offline. Now about different tamper events. What will be considered as a tamper event by your appliance? They are FIPS 140- to level 3 certified, so they have a responsive design. So based on your HSM policies, your HSM will respond to those tamper events. So these are the events which can result your HSM to go to a tamper state. Number 1, chassis intrusion. If someone forcefully try to open the chassis. HSM card removal. If someone try to forcefully remove the K7 card from the rear panel and they want to get it out of the appliance. Temperature level. There is a defined temperature range for your HSMs. Minus 25 degrees Celsius till 70 degrees Celsius. So if the HSM temperature is out of this range, there are temperature sensors that will be triggered. Voltage level. If the voltage is too high or voltage is too low, then also those sensors will be triggered. Battery. There is a battery which is inside your HSM, and if there is no power supply unit connected, those battery ensures that your key secrets are kept securely. But if someone tried to remove the battery, or if the battery is completely depleted, then also this is a tamper event for your appliance, for the HSM. No matter what the policy value you keep, if battery is removed or battery is depleted, it will always delete your appliance content. Because if there is no battery, will not be able to keep your cryptographic secret secure. So we immediately remove it. So what will happen in case of any tamper events? So HSM will immediately stop all the cryptographic requests. Immediately all the cryptographic content will be kept securely, depending on some policies. But your now security officer needs to log in and verify what exactly is the root cause. They have to physically inspect the HSM. They have to log in as the security officer and see the log entries as well. But these are the two policies which will control, on which your reaction of the appliance depends on. So let's say policy number 40, decommission on tamper. So as the name suggests, any tamper event which we just discussed earlier, any tamper event, if that is detected by your appliance, immediately remove every cryptographic content. Just remove all the HSM partition, remove everything. So policy number 40, this is a destructive policy. If you enable this policy, then all the content will be gone in case of any tamper event. Your audit role and configuration also, they are removed. Policy settings, they will be kept, and by default this policy is off. So for you folks, if you want this policy to be active in your environment, you have to make it before creating HSM partition, because this is a destructive policy. Changing this policy from on to off or off to on will remove your HSM partitions. Then we have policy number 48, that is enable controlled tamper recovery. So this is again on by default. So if both the policies are on, so this one have precedence. If policy number 40 and 48 both are on, then in case of any tamper events, your cryptographic content will be removed. But if this policy number 40, if this is disabled, and policy number 48, if this is enabled, then your security officer can do a tamper recovery. So your HSM will not be decommissioned, but still your security officer will be there and they can do tamper recovery. They can inspect the logs, physically inspect the chases of the appliance, and do the run the HSM tamper show command to verify which event was identified at what time. So if they are satisfied that okay, that the event is neutralized, they can do HSM, they can run the command HSM tamper clear. Yes, Avinash?
Just a question on the previous slide, like temper event, like policy 40 and policy 48, right? So both policies are on. So in that case, the policy 48 has the precedence, right?
Policy 40, decommission on temper will have precedence.
Okay, 40 have the okay.
So if this is on, no matter what other policy values are, in case of a temper event, everything gone. Policy 40.
Okay.
And folks, also another thing I would like to mention here, please do not disable both the policies. If policy 40 is also disabled, if policy 48 is also disabled, you will just get some error logs, audit log entries or HSM log entries, but nothing will happen. So make sure you are responding, you are configuring these policies beforehand.
So before this tamper event, so does have any threshold, or they can trigger some log in the HSM audit log or syslog before threshold or something for the voltage, other thing as well. There are, you mentioned 4 or 5 things.
So you mean that after the temper event is identified, it will wait for some second and then remove the content?
No, like let's suppose temper event will going to happen, like let's suppose disk full error or voltage error. So let's suppose my voltage is currently is -5, but I can see it's going to -18, but I know -20 to 70 is gonna lost. So -18 we have to will get any alert in the log file? Is there any event can trigger?
Okay, so nothing directly on the HSM. So like you said, for temperature -20 to +70, but still on if you are using Crypto Command Center CCC, there are those threshold that you can configure using CCC, but nothing directly on the appliance. If you are collecting those syslogs logs on a remote syslog server, you can customize those log entries. You can create threshold alerts on those thresholds, but nothing directly on the appliance.
Okay, means that level of log can be generated in the
correct. Yes.
Okay, we can monitor that.
Yeah. Yes, Raj.
So question: did you say that both policy 40 and policy 48 are they both inherently destructive, or just policy 40 is inherently destructive and
policy
48?
Yeah, I think both of them are destructive. Policy 40 and 48 both are destructive. I'm sure about 40. Let me just quickly double check for 48.
Okay.
Let us check that. 40, I'm sure that this is destructive. Fine, HSM policy 48. Policy 48. This is not a destructive policy. So, but 40 is destructive.
Okay, so 40 is destructive, 48 is not. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now about upgrading your software and your firmware. So you have a single file that can upgrade your software and firmware, but there will be two separate commands for that. First you will upgrade software and then firmware, but there are two separate commands. Your appliance admin will transfer the file, the upgrade file .spkg file, and then your HSM security officer will run those commands for upgrading. If you want to roll back your firmware, that is possible, but it is a destructive operation. All the partitions and content, they will be removed, and you have to recreate your HSM partition if ever you decide to do a firmware rollback. So if you run the command HSM firmware show, it will give you an option to get information about the current firmware and information about the upgraded firmware, what will be the next firmware. But once the appliance firmware is upgraded to, let's say, 7.7, you will see current firmware 7.7, rollback firmware 7.4, and upgrade firmware that will be blank. So rollbacks are destructive, everything will be gone. But there is no option to roll back your software. If the software, appliance software, they are upgraded, there are no rollbacks for the software. However, we have this workaround called as reimaging. So if ever you decide to reimage your appliances, then every content, everything gone, everything removed, they will come back to software version 7.2 and firmware version 7.0.3. This is a version which will, when we ship the appliances, to your location, this is the version you will see, software 7.2 and firmware 7.0.3. So if you have upgraded your software to 7.7.1 but you want to use 7.4, then you have to reimage the appliance and then upgrade to the required version. Remember folks, whenever you are planning to do reimage, make sure both the power supply unit are connected, because if there is any power outage during the reimage process, your appliance could also be corrupted. You cannot recover your appliance if the power is disconnected during reimage. So just one recommendation from us, continuous power supply at the time of reimaging the appliances.
So this reimaging, it's kind of like fresh installation, right? It's baseline.
Yes, Avinash. So it will simply reset everything to the original factory state, even the software and the firmware version, and then you have to start everything from just like a brand new device.
Okay, so restoration is possible in this reimagining. Let's suppose I have the backup of one of HSM and I kept it somewhere, and I have the active HSM, so where I can perform this reimaging. So that restoration is possible here, right?
Correct, yes. Even if you reimage, then you can just create new partitions and initialize it with the same cloning domain, and then you can restore the content from backup or even from HA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's no restriction to restore on the reimaged appliance. No restrictions. So folks, any other questions? This brings towards the end of our module number 6. We just have one last module to cover. Okay, so let us. Yeah.
Which ones? So the software. If you upgrade the software, you cannot roll back the software.
Correct.
The only thing you can do is re-image and then restore from backup. Yeah?
Correct. So let's say you went on upgrading your appliance to 7.8 firmware and 7.8 software. But now after reading the customer release note for 7.7, you decide that 7.7 is a better software or a better firmware version for us. but there is no option to roll back your software to 7.7 directly. So the workaround is you will reimage the appliance, go to this version 7.2 and 7.0.3 software and firmware, and then upgrade to 7.7.
Perfect. Thank you. Just making sure.
Okay, so let us quickly see
Just
the
one question. So this firmware will disconnect the existing client, or it is on the fly operation?
at the time of reimaging.
No, for the firmware upgrade or software upgrade.
Okay. So yes, nothing existing content, nothing will be impacted by the software or firmware upgrades. All the content will be as it is. All the client's information will be as it is. Nothing, those will not be impacted.
No, I'm talking about the connection.
So during that
Connection.
upgrade process,
Yes.
they will not be accessible. But after post upgrade, everything can be restored.
Okay.
Yeah. So during the upgrade, your service HSM will be down. Services will be restarting. Once the upgrade is successful, appliance will reboot, and the new firmware and software upgrade software version will be reflected. So your client will not be able to connect at the time of software and firmware upgrade.
Okay.
And if you have, sorry, just a quick question.
Yeah.
If you have, like, for example, HA, you have like say you have like three different HSMs, right? That are in high availability. As you're upgrading, one, the other ones will still be able to respond, right? Or is
Correct,
it best just to? Yeah, okay, right.
So
But
there is
from the
no.
one you're, sorry, but
Yeah.
from the one you're upgrading, before you do the upgrade, you say you should disconnect the client connected to it first, right?
Correct. So here
Okay.
there is an NTLS service. You can run the command service stop NTLS
Yes.
so that this connection is no longer there. Upgrade this device. Once the device is successfully upgraded, restart NTLS and you can restore this connection. So once upgrade, do your HA synchronize so that if there is a new object created, it could be replicated. Then on this HSM, same process. Bring down NTLS service, upgrade, restart NTLS, and do HA synchronize, and so on.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
So now this is our hands-on for your audit and logging. So I would have used Kiwi syslog server, but the first thing is we have to create the password for your audit user. So this is your audit is your appliance level role. So your admin user can set the password for that. So the command is user password audit. So on that note, I believe there was a conversation about resetting your admin password with another admin account. So if you have create additional admin user, so I did that testing and it is possible. So I created one user with the name Akshay, provided them admin privileges to Akshay, and once if I tried to reset the password for admin using Akshay account, I was able to do that. So even if you have multiple admin users, they can reset their accounts automatically. But if you just have one admin user and you forgot the password, then you have an account called as recover to reset the password. So your admin user will reset the password for audit. After that, audit user will log in, will SSH into the appliance, and they will run the command audit init. They will initialize audit officer. This is a paired-based HSM, so you will configure a white paired key. Then to synchronize the time, this is the command audit sync if you want to synchronize the time between your appliance and your HSM. Then these are the parameters which your audit officer can now decide. So every value, so key generation, your HSM access, every have their unique alphabet for that. So you can decide which events you want to log, which HSM events you want to log, and this controls your frequency of your rotation. How frequently you want to rotate your HSM logs. Do you want to rotate them every hour, every week, or monthly? If you want to export the logs, so this is about generating some log entries. Audit log tar. So this will generate a tar file with your current log file. We are now reading these log entries. If you want to redirect your appliance log to a Kiwi syslog to a remote syslog server, you can use that. So in the training we would have seen Kiwi syslog server. We configure the syslog server to receive, we bind this IP and use 7171 as the port. And we just have to run this command on the appliance to tell this information about my remote host. There are different logging functionality like Luna logs, messages, and they have their own separate logging level as well. If you want to configure their individual logging level, you can run this command. And then you will see your appliance logs to be redirected to a syslog server. Then you also have one additional logging functionality. So I'll use this diagram. So in order for your application to communicate with Luna HSM, you install Luna client on them. You install Luna client, your application interact with Luna client, and then your Luna client forward the request to the HSMs. So in order for you to track the communication between your application and the Luna client, we have this CK logs here. So these are the CK logs which will track your application interaction with our PKCS11 libraries, with the Luna libraries. So this is the command you can run, VTL CK log support enable. Once you run this command, automatically there will be a log file generated in C folder with the name luna.txt, and that will have your interaction between your application with Luna libraries. So if you want to monitor CK logs, please make sure you are noting this command, VTL CK log support enable, or you can simply disable that as well. This is about some information from those CK logs. Any question, folks? Anyone? Any commands you want me to show again?
I have one question regarding the portrait.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not seeing all the menu, just I'm seeing the listen and the recording session.
So just scroll to the bottom, you will see session recordings. So videos are uploaded there. Just scroll to the bottom. Everyone have access. If you can see the slides, then definitely session recordings will also be.
No,
folks,
no, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the menu. If you go on the top of the page.
On the top of the page, okay.
Yeah, this menu, outline setting. On the top.
Which
on the top.
On the top, okay.
Yeah, this one, setting notification permission.
Okay, so this is because I have this admin account, so you will see some different parameters here. Yeah, this is for me as an admin. I have some extra options available here. So
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question, folks?
Yes, could you clarify the exam, when the last date, how many trials we can make it or try it?
I'm gonna talk about that in detail in the next section, Mahmood.
Okay.
So after our once we discuss the last module for the day, I'm gonna spend some time talking about the certification exam as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But yes, other than exam, if you have any questions from the content or any questions from the section which we just covered today.
Sorry.
This
Oh, right. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Yes, Avinash,
No.
go.
Yeah. So this hands-on lab is also uploaded on the portal, like
Yes,
to.
yes. We have two separate sections, one for the password labs, all the 9 labs here, and then ped labs, all the 9 labs here. Yes, Chris?
No, I was just going to say, I was just going to clarify. That this is pretty simple, but that for the auditing, right? You audit and you're basically audited in two places. On on the appliance itself, you have an audit user there, right?
Correct.
And then on the HSM itself, right? You have the HSM portion of it.
Correct.
You
Audit
have
officer.
you have an audit officer which is tied to it. If you have a PED one, it's tied to a key as well too. So you
Correct.
have to do auditing from two sides. Okay.
Correct. Correct. So we have two separate logging functionality. You have your appliance, you have your HSM. Your appliance admin will configure the logging here. What is logged, what is the status of the services. Admin user will configure your logging events for the appliance. What is the server remote host, what logging event must be critical, must be warning, info. Admin user will configure that. Here, first your audit user, which is your appliance level role, will SSH into the appliance using a username and a password. Then they will configure a audit officer, AO, and this AO will have access to the HSM. So these two users combined will create your HSM logging event. What they want to track, how frequently they want to rotate, if they want to add a remote syslog server, these two users will be required. One at
And on,
appliance level. Yeah.
okay, and on the HSM level, you
Yeah.
don't have to do separate for the partitions, do you? Like if you have a whole bunch of different partitions, or
Okay. Yeah. So it is one for everyone. So it is for the
one for
entire
everyone,
HSM
exactly.
operation. Yeah.
Okay, exactly. So basically you would do the login. In this case, if you had three HSMs, you would be doing login individually on each one of them, like
Correct.
for each HSM. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
So yes, even if you have multiple partition, there is no option to segregate that. Okay, collect information for one partition but skip for
Okay.
another. No. For
Yeah.
every partition, you will get this information.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good question, Chris. Thank you. Okay, folks.
Just
So yeah.
sorry for that. Can
No,
you
no,
repeat this audit for the HSM level? Like you said, audit user will SSH it, and after that he will log in as an audit officer.
they will initialize audit officer if it is not already there. But if audit officer is there, audit officer will log in, because this user, audit user, they can just SSH into the appliance. They do not have
Okay.
permission to log into the HSM. For that, you have a separate AO user, audit officer. So audit officer
Okay,
have
so-
the permissions to log into the HSM and configure your logging events.
Okay, so audit user can enable the audit officer role.
Correct. Correct.
Oh.
So if this is a PED based HSM, audit AO will have a white PED key. If otherwise, it will just have a string as a password for true login in case of password based HSM, audit officer. Any other question, folks? Perfect. So let's take our 20 minutes breather, and this is going to be the last session. And see you in 20, folks. Thank you.
ينفع عادي.
Welcome back everyone to our final session for this Luna HSM training. Just again a quick audio test, and I hope you guys can see this advanced concept and configuration. Thank you. Yes, someone have a question? Okay, please, you guys wanted to do a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So folks, I have just sent you an invite for the certification exam. I mean, just verify that. Please do not start the exam yet. If someone have still not received the invite, or if you do not see your name in this list, let me bring that list. So this is for your, no, this is not for the exam. Okay, here's the, so I'm gonna slowly scroll down. If you do not see your name here, please let me know and I can fix that. If you see your name in this list and the invite is also received, then all good. Okay, so let's start the last module for this training. Confirm my name on the list. Sure, let's confirm your name in the list, Jamie. Jamie, yep. I think this is your name right here. Perfect. So now this is the last module talking about some additional concepts for Luna HSM. So in this final module, we're going to talk about different SDKs and APIs which you will be getting with your Luna HSM installation, your JSP, KSP provider depending on the type of application that wants to connect to Luna HSM. We're also going to talk about functionality module, scalable key storage and per key authorization, some new concepts, REST API and crypto command center, CCC. So with the Luna client installation, we provide you different APIs. So depending on the application you have, we provide you libraries for PKCS 11 and the version for that is 2.2. For Java, we have different provider called as JSP, Java Service Provider, OpenSSL, Microsoft CAPI and Microsoft CNG. Depending on the Microsoft platform applications have, they can either use CAPI or CNG. So we are compliant with PKCS 11 APIs, and this PKCS 11, this is the standard which controls your API communication with your HSM's hardware security modules. So we provide you those DLLs, those APIs in the form of DLLs. So if you see the default installation folder for your Luna client, you will see cryptoki.dll in Windows and CryptoKI in your Linux. So this will be automatically there, and very important DLL for your application and your Luna HSM interaction. Mechanisms. So with every HSM release, we always issue this list of mechanism. So this gives you information about a capability of your Luna HSM, what all encryption operation can do, what all signing operation a particular HSM can do, what all ciphers are supported. So this mechanism information, you need to share this with your application team. So that is the reason why every HA needs to be the same firmware version, because one mechanism, it is possible that it is supported on firmware 7.4 and not supported on 7.7, or maybe supported on 7.7 and not supported on 7.4. That is why your HA needs to be of the same firmware versions. Sessions and slots. This is another your Luna HSM terminology, your PKCS 11 terminology which Luna HSM use. So your crypto officer, partition officer, crypto users, whenever they have to log into a particular partition, they have to open a session. And in order for them to open a session, first thing they have to identify is a correct slot. So we saw yesterday Nathan was slot ID 0. We have slot ID for our backup HSM. We have a slot ID for our HA group. So if we interact with an HA group slot ID, that means we are interacting with the member slot ID. So once the slot ID is identified, then you will log in as the required user. Crypto officer, crypto user, depending on the application use cases. And it is always recommended to close the session once the crypto operations have been completed, because there is limitation on number of simultaneous endless connection. You do not want any idle timeout, any idle connection to be preventing your new connection to be established. So make this session call to close the session once the required crypto operation is done. JSP, so this providers allows your Java-based application to use our Luna HSM product for your secure cryptographic operations. Your Java developer, they can build their own Java applications using this included your SDK, using SDK kit, which is there in your Luna installation. If you have selected Luna client installation, if you have selected your Java provider. We also provide you some sample codes, so that will be under your JSP samples, which can also assist your Java developers. So make sure you are pointing them toward this sample codes as well. JSP setup, and now label versus slot. So folks, very important for you to remember that a label can never change, can always be is always same, but a session slot ID can vary. So for example, when we initialize the partition Nathan, we give the label as Nate the Great. So that label will be persistent, will always be same, until unless you manually running the command to update it. But if you're not running that command, that will always be same. But the slot ID for Nathan partition, it could be different. It could be 0 on day 1. After some time, if they are connecting again, it could be 5, it could be 20, it could vary. But the label Nate the Great will be persistent. So your application needs to make this call, find slot from label, to get the correct slot ID before they are connecting. Because label, they will be same, but slot ID, they could be dynamic.
Sorry. You're saying that the slot ID can change?
Correct. So if my current slot ID for Nathan partition was 0, if I have 10 more partitions created, it is possible that Nathan would have slot ID 5.
Oh, so it could change. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But Nate the Great, that label which we provided, that will always be same.
It's the same. Okay. I didn't know slot ID changed. Okay.
Yeah,
perfect. Thank
they
you.
are dynamic. Yeah.
Okay.
Crypto officer versus crypto user. I hope by now everyone have the clear understanding between the difference between crypto officer and your user. One is read and write, crypto officer, and one is read only, crypto user. Crypto officer, anyone remembers the color scheme for ped-based HSM for crypto officer?
Black. Yeah.
Correct. And for user?
Gray, I think.
Gray. Yeah, absolutely right. Gray. So crypto officer black, crypto user gray. Object handle. So also folks, remember, just like slot ID, your object handle can also vary. Never assume a fixed handle number for your objects. They have some other parameters which will always be same, like they have their unique ID, they have their ID, which will always be same. But again, handle number, they could vary. So never assume a fixed handle number for your objects. KSP and CSP. So for our Microsoft services to interact with Luna HSM, we have these providers, KSP and CSP. So if the Microsoft application is currently running on CAPI, CAPI, for that we have a provider CSP. If they are running on the next gen platform, CNG, they can use our key storage provider, that is KSP. So folks, I would request all of you, there's a small 6-minute videos which talk about your Microsoft Active Directory certificate service integration with Luna HSM, where you have to install this KSP provider and do this integration with the CNG provider. So make sure you see that session recording, that video on the learning portal. That will help you understand this interaction. Functionality modules, FM. So before I continue, any questions, anyone? Perfect. So now functionality module. So just give me 1 minute. Sorry about that, folks. So now functionality modules. So we provide you an option to bring your custom code and upload it in your secure HSM boundary and then execute it. You can also bring your custom objects which would be required by that custom code, and then you can also store those custom objects within your HSM. This can be done with the help of functionality module. So this was introduced in version 7.4. So in 7.4 onwards, we have this functionality module options. But when we say that you can bring something custom within the HSM, you are going out of FIPS scope, because that custom could be anything. That custom objects could be out of the FIPS scope. So functionality modules, they are not compliant with FIPS 140-2 certification. There are some HSM level policies which you need to enable. As soon as you enable them, your HSM is out of FIPS boundary, and there is no rollback. Even you will not be able to get back to FIPS boundary once you enable those policies. So some of the use cases where functionality module would be helpful could be where you have an highly customized application. You have a requirement for remote signing solution for your eIDAS and your trust service providers platform. You want to test a new cryptographic algorithm. Customers who wants to test any quantum safe algorithm. They have a crypto wallet implementation, or most importantly, if they require a secure manufacturing environment. Because those custom code, those custom object, even though if the device is not FIPS certified, still those objects or those codes are lying inside a tamper-proof environment. Someone if want to access that code, that will trigger a tamper depending on the policy you have, policy number 40 and policy number 48. So those objects are still secure in a tamper-proof environment. So before December 2018, if your hardware was manufactured before that, they will not support functionality module. They will be called as pre-FM. But from December 2018 forwards, we started support for functionality module, and they will be FM ready. But only once you enable those functionality module policy, FM policy, then only you will see FM enabled. Functionality module is now enabled. So what exactly do you need to use functionality module? FM ready hardware, licenses, additional licenses are required, software version and firmware version minimum 7.4, SDKs which you will install at the time of Luna client installation, HSM level policy number 50 and policy number 51 to be enabled, and you require a Linux machine to compile and sign your binaries. These are the requirements to use functionality module on Luna HSMs. But remember folks, these policies are destructive. It's a one-way policy. If you are going out of FIPS scope, you can never come back to FIPS boundary again. Even you cannot even re-image your appliances. That will no longer be possible if the functionality module is now enabled. So these are the policy number 50 and policy number 51 that will control your functionality module state. So policy number 50, allow functionality modules. That means now you can bring those custom codes and upload it on Luna HSM boundary. Allow policy number 51, allow SMFS. It is your secure memory file system which will be holding your custom objects. So if you want that objects to be accessible automatically after the reboot, you will enable policy number 51. If policy number 50 is enabled, policy number 51 is disabled. Whenever you reboot, your security officer have to manually run the command to activate SMFS, secure memory file system. So the impact, very important to understand to enable functionality module. You will be going out of FIPS scope, reimaging no longer an option, and even you can never get back your FIPS certification for that particular device. You should not be creating your HA group between a non-FM and a FM device. So it should be non-FM, non-FM or FM-FM. SMFS, your 4 MB area for your custom objects to store custom keys and custom objects. 8 MB for uploading custom code. So separate memory, and this will be again your temper protected boundary. In case of temper events, these will be removed from the your HSM immediately. So totally up to you folks whether you want to have do you have any use cases where functionality module is required. But again, there are some limited use cases for functionality modules as of now, and most importantly, organization do not want to go out of FIPS scopes. But yes, if they have some highly customized application which needs to be executed in a secure environment, then definitely FM is a good solution for them.
One quick question. So this FMHSM does support the backup functionality as well to take the backup of that particular.
Yes, you can. You can take the backup on
And restore
functionality
as well.
module. Yes,
Okay, so
but it
let's
is just
suppose I take,
recommended. It is recommended that you do not do this backup and restore over FM hardware and non-FM hardware. So that's the only limitation. But yes, no limitation on terms of taking backup from an FM enabled hardware.
okay.
And now about the recent concept of scalable key storage and per key authorization. We already introduced this concept in the training session, but again, to get into detail of it, your scalable key storage, SKS. So we already saw the limitation in terms of HSM size. The maximum you can get is 64 MB with 790 model upgraded on 7.7. So for use cases like Citrix FAS or your remote signing solution, which have again millions of keys to be handled, they have this option of using scalable key storage. Those millions of keys, they will be outside the FIP scope, sorry, not outside the FIP scope, outside the HSM scope, sitting in an external databases, storages or cloud storages, but they will be in an encrypted form. They will be stored as an encrypted blob. They will be encrypted with an SMK, that is your scalable key storage master key. That master key will reside inside your HSM partition. Whenever those keys need to be processed, the request will be sent on the HSM. Within the HSM secure partition, the encrypted blob will be decrypted. Key will be you'll get your operational keys. You will perform the required signing operation, and then the decrypted version of the key will be removed, and you just have again that encrypted blob. So that master key will be important. You have to keep your master key secure. You can take backup of that SMK. You can take even create an HA group where multiple partitions have the same master key, same SMK key. So to get better performance, you can also have this configuration. But if your master key is gone, if your master key is deleted, then those encrypted blob, you cannot recover that one. So for such use cases, you can use SKS. You have to create version 1 partition. You have to configure some policies at partition level, but no separate licenses or no separate hardware needs to be required. Just the same hardware after 7.7 have this option of creating version 1 partition. So if you run the command partition create -partition, the name of the partition, you have to specify -version 1. If you do not specify the version, the default partition will be created as version 0. This master key is your 256-bit AES key, which will be there in your version 1 partition. You can take backup. You can even create an HA group for this master key. If you want to rotate those SMK keys, then key rollover support is also there, where in one partition you will have two keys. One will be your old key and second will be your new key. So those key rollover support is also there. Per key authorization, so additional concept for scalable key storage. So if you see the current traditional Luna use cases, you have one crypto officer that can manage all the partitions content, that can create all the objects, that can delete all the objects, that can even utilize all the objects. So with this per key authorization, in case of SKS, in case of version 1 partition, additionally, every key will have a unique authorization data with them. So if in order for a particular key to be utilized, they will also have to provide that authorization data. So these keys, which will be stored in this external databases, if those keys need to be utilized, then they have to be sent on the HSM, request needs to be sent on the HSM, along with a unique authorization data. So this way, some additional authorization data will be unique to every key. So this might be useful for your EIDAS requirements for your trust service provider. So if you want to enable authorization data, it will be policy number 40 for every partition, but it requires version 1 partition. It cannot be there for version 0 partition. REST API and crypto command center. So we know that as of now you already seen Luna Shell, the management interface to manage your Luna network HSM. You also have this REST API to do those management tasks. Creating partition, initializing partition, creating logs, everything, setting, configuring logs, everything can also be done using this REST API platform as well. I'm going to share the link for the latest version of the REST API. So this one is the latest version. Okay, I'm getting
لو
access
شكله صعصع.
denied. Uh,
شدي بس الستارة دي كويس بضمير كده زي ما انا بشدها بضمير.
مفيش حد بيعمل لحد اللي هو عاوزه.
Nope.
بس هم كانت عاملة
جوجا ما جاتش.
لا جوجل هتيجي لوحدها.
so it is somewhere around this link that you can see the REST API documentation, but I'm going to share it as of now. Okay, I think Nathan already pasted it. So, yep. Thank you, Nathan. Is it for the latest version? Yep. So even now we have version 12. So thank you, Nathan. So using this documentation, you can see what are all the current possible management tasks which you can do using your REST API platform. Your admin user is the one who needs to configure your your web server so that your network HSM can accept those REST API calls and process those REST API calls. So your appliance
يعني
user,
مش هنملي مي.
admin user needs to do that configuration.
والله ما انا عارف لسه حكايته البتاع ده.
So that once the web server is running over HTTPS, you can manage your network HSM.
مخلص بس الراجل ده.
As of now, there is no support for cryptographic
مخلص
requests
يوم
over
الراجل
REST
ده
API.
هشوف هاخد العلاج ولا
That
أعمل
will
إيه؟
be added in future releases. Last I checked,
أيوة ما
it will
عندنا.
be provided soon. But as of now, only the management traffic could be sent using REST API, not your cryptographic traffic. For the crypto operation, still that needs to be done with the help of Luna client. So this is an example where one NTLS link is configured using your REST API platform. It's a very additional helpful feature to manage your network HSM, REST API. So the link shared by Nathan also have the configuration steps as well, how you can configure those REST API and some examples as well. CCC, Crypto Command Center. So this is another option to manage your network HSM from a central interface. So for the folks who have, let's say, 4, 10 HSMs, even more than that, a single web interface, a single interactive graphical user interface to manage your network HSM. So Crypto Command Center again uses your REST API platform to do those management and tasks. Again, it is not a substitute of your Luna client. For every cryptographic operation, application still needs to use Luna client for that. But this is just another additional option to do your management task. So everything as of now we see is everything is text-based, command-based for management, but this CCC is graphical interface. So over the interface you can create partition, initialize partition, and those tasks can be done using CCC. So even we claim that no HSM expertise is required because it is not that difficult to manage your HSM with the help of CCC. So this CCC is your central trusted resource management system for your HSMs. You will have, even if you have PED and password, both the HSMs could be managed using same platform, CCC, Crypto Command Center. You also get this option of reporting and alerting. So someone asked me about the temperature sensors and everything. So here you have an option, let's say your HSM utilization is now disk space is now 90%. So if you want to create those custom threshold for alerting, CCC can help you with that. So you have this dashboard for your HSM, you have a dashboard for your partition utilization and everything. If you remember, we talked about partition utilization metrics. where you can get information about a particular, how many cryptographic operations are done by a particular partition. So those metrics, they are stored in volatile memory. If you reboot your HSM, those metrics will be gone. They will reset. But if you are collecting those metrics using Crypto Command Center, that will be retained. So that's another difference using Crypto Command Center, CCC. You can see the utilization over a previous interval of time as well. If you want to generate reports for your partition or your HSM utilization, that can also be done with the help of this interface. So folks, CCC itself is another interesting topic to learn about. If you guys are interested, we have a 4-hour self-paced training. You guys get it without any charges. It's for free for all of you. But if you are interested to learn more about CCC, only thing you require is to send me an email after this training so that I can enroll you for CCC training. No additional cost. It is for everyone who register for Luna HSM training. We are also providing CCC training, but only on request basis. So just send me an email if you are interested to learn about CCC and I can enroll you. So with that, this brings towards the end of our learning. I just have one more quiz, and after that I'm going to talk about the certification exam. But other than exam, if you have any questions, please let me know. Yes, Avinash?
So this CCC Crypto Command Center is a device or it's any software-based application, right?
It's a software-based application that needs to be installed on a Linux server, and that server can now access over a web interface, and then that server will send you a REST API call to the network HSM. So it is
Okay.
not it is installed on a Linux server, and then Linux server will become your provide you a web interface to manage network HSM. So it's not a virtual machine. It is a software.
Okay, and it's it's chargeable?
Yes, so for the initial 30 days, you can manage up to 8 devices without any charges. So if you want to just test how Crypto Command Center works, there are some free licenses for that. But yes, after that, it's a paid service.
Okay.
Yeah. Even configuring Crypto Command Center, I'll be honest with you, that requires some technical expertise. If you want to test CCC, we have documentation on the network HSM, the same link which Nathan shared. On the same portal, we have instruction to configure CCC and enroll devices. But yes, on the same installation folder, you will get some free licenses to test for 30 days.
CC having the 4 hours window. So where's that video in the learning portal?
CCC learning, for you need to send me an email. I will enroll you separately on the same portal. On the same portal where you see Luna HSM learning, and on the same portal where you see your certification exam, an additional module will be added for your Crypto Command Center training.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So if you see, you will see a to-do list here. As of now, you will see 2 options. One is for the content, Luna content, and one is for Luna exam. A third option will be added for Crypto Command Center, but for that you have to send me an email.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Any other question, folks? Before I bring the last quiz for the training. Okay, let me start the final quiz. I hope, folks, this quiz module 5, quiz 4 is visible to everyone now. You guys can see this, right? Thanks, Avinash. Perfect. True or false? Okay, I have already received the response. So, does the HSM manage the synchronization of objects for HA group? Is it true or is it false? Is it your HSM doing the synchronization for your objects in case of your HA group? B false, B, Saba false. Absolutely right, folks. This is done by your client libraries. Your entire HA operation, synchronization, replication, everything, adding member, deleting member, keeping a track of active member will be done by your Luna client libraries. Let's see if someone remembers this number. The maximum partitions or HSMs allowed in an HA group are C, 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 C. Raj also thinks this is C. The maximum number of partitions in an HA group. Absolutely right, folks. This is 32. Maximum you can have in an HA group, 32. All HSM level policies are destructive. Is it true or false? B, false. Absolutely right. All policies are not destructive. There are few policies which are destructive at HSM level. Your security officer will configure that. There are few policies at partition level which are destructive. Your partition officer will configure that. So folks, this is a multiple choice question. Please ignore the formatting. There are more than one correct answers. Which of these requests will be load balanced in an HA group? Which of them will be load balanced and will give you high performances? Key generation, encryption, signing, and key deletion. Which of them will be load balanced? BC, ABC, okay. ABD, AD, ABC, okay. So the question here is, which will give you high performance? Which will, out of these four operations, which of these requests will be load balance, will give you better performance in case of an HA group? Is it key generation, encryption, signing, or key deletion? BC, AD, okay. ABC, okay. So folks, the right response is B and C. Any request that will change the state of your key, like key creation and key deletion, this will not be load balanced. Those requests need to be sent on any or to all of your HA members. But the requests like encryption and signing, they could be handled by any of the member. So those requests will actually be load balanced. This will give you better performance, not key generation and key deletion.
Sorry, would you mind going back to the question again? Just want to see.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Which of the following should be same for a partition in an HA group? Another multiple choice question, more than one correct answer. Which of the following should be same for partitions in an HA group? A and C, A, D and C, AC, AC, AC and D. One more for A and D. ACD, AC, AC, okay. A and D, okay. So folks, the right combination is, things which needs to be same for a partitions in an HA group is, are A, C and D. A, your cloning domain needs to be same, else the cloning operation will fail. C, your crypto officer challenge password, they also need to be same because you are authenticating only once. Or D, your authentication mechanism for the HSM, PED or password, they also need to be same. So A, C and D. True or false, HA only is not enabled by default for an HA group. Is it true or false? HA only A. Majority went with A. Absolutely right. That's right, Alkapan. HA only needs to be enabled manually. If you enable HA only the HA slot ID will be visible to your application. The member slot ID will be hidden. So whenever your application needs to connect, they will always have to connect to HA slot ID. What are the supported methods for backing up your partition content? If you want to take the backup of the cryptographic content, what all methods are supported? Absolutely right, all of the above. Partition policy can be modified by which user? Crypto officer, partition officer, HSM security officer, or D admin. And partition officer have the majority and absolutely right. And this brings towards the end of our quiz as well. Just let me show you one thing. Okay, so I promised Anthony about 2 questions from the certification exam. So Anthony, this is one of the question, but there are 130 questions from in the exam pool. Whether you get this question or not, it's totally up to your luck. So I completed my promise, but whether these questions will come or not, that's the other part. So yeah. Okay, so folks, any question before I start talking about the certification exam? Okay, I'll take that as no. So few updates about the certification exam. Let me bring the whiteboard right here so that I can type as well. Okay, so you have a certification exam pool where from that pool randomly 50 questions will be presented to you. In order for you to get the certification done, you need 35 correct response. 70% is the passing criteria. There will be question which have 1 correct response. You will see select boxes for them. There will be few questions which have more than 1 correct answer. You will see check boxes for them. So you can identify from the pattern of the question whether it has 1 correct response or more than 1 correct response. Trust me folks, whatever we have learned in the training itself, it is more than enough for you to get the certification done. Whatever you find in this, where is my content? So whatever you find in this particular module section here, right here, all the labs, all the content, it is more than enough for you to get the certification done. This portal is available, this content access is available till 4th of March, and the certification exam is available till, let me show you the date for the certification exam as well, 31st of March. So till 31st of March you have time to give the certification exam. So as of now folks, you just have 1 attempt for you to get the certification done. But don't worry, if due to any reason you are not able to get the certification done in the first attempt, please send me an email and I can enroll you for another attempt. But if the score is like 68 or 66 and you are close to certification exam, I will immediately give you the next attempt. But if you require some additional preparation, if I feel like that you require some additional preparation, I will give you the second attempt after 7 days so that you guys can review the content again and give the exam. Sorry, someone have a question?
Is
The end
the
of March is the.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
just want to say, if end of March is the last date.
Correct. 31st, end of March.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Raj, go ahead.
is this considered this test format? Is it an adaptive format, or is it just purely random?
Adaptive format, yes, no, it's purely random. There is nothing, no logic inbuilt that based on your previous response it will give you next response. No, it is
Okay.
completely random. It will, as soon as you click on start exam, 50 questions automatically selected and presented to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And one more thing I would like to mention, this is again an open book exam. So if you would like to access this thing, Thales Talks, you can have another tab open, but totally up to you. This is an open book. All the notes which you made during the training can also be accessed for certification exam. I hope one attempt is more than enough for all of you, but like I said, if you need it, you can send me a direct email as well. Any other question, folks, I can answer before we wrap up our training?
We can't have
How
our
much time?
slides while attending the exam.
Sorry, can you repeat that? The mic is not closed, so.
No, man. So can we have like the slides what we had for training while taking the exam?
Yes, you can keep this learning content, learning portal open. Yes, like I said, on another tab, you can keep this open.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Philip?
Yes, how much time do we have to complete the quiz, the exam?
Oh, good point. I forgot that. You total have 90 minutes to give the certification exam done. 90 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thanks.
90 minutes, 50 questions, and 35 correct response. On the select all question, is it all or none? Select all question, is it all or none? Sorry, Anthony, I didn't get that.
So with like the boxes, if there are like 4 correct answers and you pick 2, do you get half a point or is it no points?
2 points. No points at all.
Great question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So all the sequence needs to be correct, not even the sequence, all the option needs to be correctly selected. There is no partial marking for that. Either you will get 2 or 0. Perfect. So folks, thank you everyone for joining this 4 days for the training. Sorry about the coughing and all. I couldn't control that. And also folks, sorry about we had some demos today. Will not be because my laptop, I'm still trying to get it working. Still it's not working. So sorry about that. And I hope you learned something new from this last 4 days from the LunaHSM learning. I know some folks are quite advanced and you might find some concept basic, but for the new ones, I hope you guys learned something new which can help you in your future Luna implementation. And you have my email. Feel free to ask any questions about the training content if you have any, or even for the certification exam if you need any information. And thank you and have a very good rest of the day.
Thank you so much, actually. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Akshay.